This is my review of My Hero Academia. Okay, so it's been a while since I talked about My Hero Academia. I stopped reviewing it so I could review Solar Opposites because somebody asked me to, and now I'm back reviewing My Hero Academia again. So here we are. But and what an episode to start with, because this episode is actually really good. I like how it works, because it's one of those episodes that explains how something works and then shows it in action. So specifically, it explains what the Quirk erasing thing is that Mr. Compress got shot with a couple of episodes is, and then we actually see it being used on some of the heroes. So now this thing has actually entered the public knowledge of the heroes, and that's going to cause some interesting conflicts going forward. But in any case, everybody has started working on the hero studies. Specifically, we see that Najiri has actually asked Uraraka and Asui to actually join her at her hero study work program, and Kirishima has joined Tamaki at his. So we meet both of their heroes. I forget what the hero for Najiri's is, but the one for Tamaki's is Fat Gum, who has an interesting quirk that I'll get to in a minute because it's not explained right out of the bat. So yeah, that's the main thing you need to know about this episode, is that these two work for different companies. And also, Uraraka and Asui are going to be working with Deku and his agency to try and take down the Shie Hassaikai, and so eventually there's going to be a partnership between the two agencies, which is going to be fun, but they don't really touch on it much other than it exists. It's going to exist. That's all this episode does to set that up. It doesn't further that part of the plot in any way. But in any case, speaking of the Shie Hassaikai, the leaders of the Shie Hassaikai, led by Overhaul, actually meet with Shigaraki, and Shigaraki has a couple of concessions that he wants to clear up before he actually decides to work with the Shie Hassaikai. Notably, he wants it to be a co-partnership, nothing more, nothing less. Otherwise, he walks and they don't work together. And sure enough, their goals do kind of align for the time being. The Shie Hassaikai wants to use the League of Villains name to actually bolster their reputation, while the League of Villains wants to just more or less bolster their strength so that they can actually pose a real threat to the heroes. And sure enough, for now they decide to work together, but that's really it. So yeah, but in any case, they do start discussing that kind of plan going forward. But also Shigaraki mostly comes because he has one very important question. He points out that he wants some answers because of what happened the other day with some of his villains, and wants a couple of answers on what exactly their plan is. And sure enough, with some confusion from the little guy Mimic and Chrono, he pulls out one of their little special bullets that they shot Mr. Compress with, and asks them what it actually is. And sure enough, Overhaul calmly explains what it does. He explains that it's very similar to All for One's philosophy of stealing quirks to maintain power, and it's very similar in that regard. And sure enough, we see this exactly in action with Kirishima, Tamaki, and Fat Gum going on a bit of a patrol when they suddenly find a couple of guys that are dealing drugs running through the streets, and they're villains. So naturally, Fat Gum and the others take them down. At which point we actually see Tamaki's quirk, which is that whatever he eats, he's able to manifest as a weapon, and that's kind of cool. So basically, it's kind of odd and useless on its own, but because Tamaki specifically picks his diet to have offensive and defensive capabilities, it works really well for him. So he's actually able to take down quite a few villains by himself. So yeah. And also, Kirishima laments the fact that he wasn't able to do anything. But then a twist happens. There's actually another guy that they didn't catch who shoots Tamaki with a bullet. Specifically one of the little bullets that Mr. Compress was shot with before running off after realizing it doesn't work on Kirishima because of his hardening quirk. And sure enough, Kirishima immediately chases him into a back alley. And Fat Gum immediately goes to follow Kirishima, except that Tamaki reveals that his quirk isn't working, and Fat Gum checks to see if he's okay before actually following suit. So sure enough, Kirishima eventually confronts the guy, and his quirk is kind of useless. His quirk enables him to just produce some small blades and doesn't really do much of anything. It's just, they basically bounce off of Kirishima's skin because of his hardening quirk, and he's easily apprehended. But then the guy starts crying and explaining how he knows he's not very strong and wants to try and change that. And Kirishima, knowing that he himself is still trying to catch up to the other students in Class 1A, actually sympathizes with the guy and tries to help him on his feet. But then the guy uses a quirk-enhancing drug to actually enhance his quirk, which enables him to produce a lot of blades very quickly and at an infinite length. And sure enough, Kirishima realizes that if he doesn't work quickly to disable the guy, people are going to get hurt, both in the buildings and in the alley. And so, remembering a conversation he had with Bakugo and the others, he realizes that the best thing for him is to just become a bulldozer and just plow his way through. And sure enough, decides to develop a super move of his own, which he calls Red Riot Unbreakable, which basically means he takes his hardening quirk and uses it to turn himself into a literal suit of armor. It's cool. He basically hardens his skin to the point where he's just invincible for the most part, but as he points out, he can only maintain it for about 30 to 40 seconds before it wears off. But that's more than enough time for him to actually finish the guy off and take him down. However, the guy tricks him again and starts using his old sob story crap to actually get Kirishima to break it off and stop following him. But it doesn't. But notably, it doesn't work on Kirishima, but the guy immediately escapes anyway, only to be cornered by Fat Gum, who uses his quirk to basically encase the guy in his fat. I kid you not, that is his quirk, but it is very cool. But in any case, now that Kirishima has actually taken out a villain in front of view of several civilians, he is now kind of a celebrity and kind of an on-the-rise hero, as it were. So that's a very exciting moment for him. But also, there's a bit of a little subplot apparently, because Kirishima remembers a thing that happened to him, and most likely involving a villain, and also Mina was there. So there's a bit of a internal plot going on with Kirishima, so that's a little bit interesting. But in any case, Fat Gum, having captured the villain and having escorted the villains out of the way, is actually given a status update on the police from one of the police officers, who actually analyzed the bullet that Tamaki got shot with to see what it was. And sure enough, it is a drug that actually erases, well, at the very least, takes away his quirk temporarily. He's still able to use it, but he's unable to activate his quirk for the time being. Fat Gum is very concerned because he's heard of drugs that actually enhance people's quirks, but is a little concerned now that there's a drug that can take them away. And sure enough, that's a very big plot point. But in any case, everybody's doing well at their hero studies and their internships. So everybody's starting to make the news, much to Bakugo's chagrin, because he kind of can't participate in any of it, because he kind of failed his hero licensing exam and has to take a makeup test. So yeah, that's a recurring plot. He's just very upset until the point where he actually gets his hero license. It is both funny and sad. But in case, everybody is lamenting about how well their hero studies are going, and sure enough, are also preparing to catch up and try to do their best in school as well. But Deku, notably, is having a bit of an internal conflict because of everything that happened in the last episode. He found out about Eri. He found out about what kind of situation he's in. He also found out about All Might and how he might die. There's a lot of things that Deku is working through, and he's internalizing them instead of actually letting them out and telling everybody what's going on. Mainly because he can't. So, yeah, Deku's having a bit of an internal conflict. But, in any case, that's my review of My Hero Academia. So the next episode is going to be about them actually taking on the Shie Hassaikai and actually formulating a plan to take them down, because it's going to take quite a few heroes to actually take them down, because they're a criminal underground organization. They're going to be a little hard to take down. But in any case, yeah. That's my review of My Hero Academia. What did you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below. or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter in the description below. And also, check out my Patreon if you want to help support the show. It's only a couple bucks a month. It really helps me out, and you guys get access to a bunch of cool perks that are my way saying thanks. So be sure to check those out in the description below as well. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!